Okay, so this is, the Trujillo family group. And so this is showing my grandpa's family. Let me get everybody in the shot. And so, I can't tell everybody in that group. I don't know who everybody is. But I'm sure that's my great-grandpa, that's his dad, and that's my grandpa, that's my dad's dad. And so, I don't know even when that was from.
The whole idea with three levels is that they do have to follow the rules, they do have to stay right at three.
I would say that's in Portales. This, of course, says, Maria Soledad, while living at La Palma. And they're posed in front of their family horno, where they did all their cooking. And so this is my grandma with all of the siblings that she always took care of kids. And so that's my grandma. My grandma Maria Soledad. Just grandma. I could work in the fields. Some of my family were involved in the railroad. My grandpa was involved in the railroad too. It tells in the story. But once he lost a toe in an accident, and once that happened, the railroad didn't let him go. And so this is them working in the fields, green beans. So these are friends of my uncle. Of course, the kid in the center is a relative. I don't know about the kid to the left, but the kid to the right, the one who looks blonde, is my uncle Armando Jose, Uncle Joe. And later on in my life, or when I was born, oops, I'm moving this camera everywhere. My Uncle Joe would become. He was my Nino. He was my godfather. So my grandpa Abel Trujillo, here he is preparing the field for planting. And of course he's riding a tractor. And so, sorry about the clip. That's my grandpa. Not a very good picture, but things weren't good. Some things weren't sharp in those days. So, this picture says Sandra and Jose in front of their house on the Doak Ranch, on the Doak Farm. That's who my grandpa worked for. And so, the cool thing about this picture is that's my aunt. In this picture, she's named Sandra, and that's Jose, but that's my Aunt Sue and my Uncle Joe, or more importantly in my life, that's my Nino and my Nina. My godmother and my godfather at my baptism. She's not with us anymore. She died of lupus, and my Uncle Joe is still alive. He's in Tucumcari, sometimes in Missouri, but most of the time in Tucumcari. So this is my dad, George Trujillo. And of course, this was when he was employed as a technician at Phillips 66. Now, I said his name was George, but when my dad moved to Portales and started school, Gregorio, they couldn't say Gregorio in Portales, so they started calling him George. My dad's real name is Gregorio Roque Trujillo, but Gregorio turns to George. And then here's another picture at a packing plant that he used to work at, Hatch's packing plant. And of course, let me pull out a little bit so you can see what's going on. I mean, there they are processing meat. He used to make really good sausage, and so people started wanting sausage for him. And of course, that's my dad right there. There was a wreck that let me get this steady. There was a wreck that my dad was in as a kid, and my Aunt Rita, who was one of the oldest in the family, and they were coming home in an old Model T pickup. And so it rolled over in a snowstorm, and my Aunt Rita was supposed to have picked up the Model T truck to get it off my grandpa as the gas was dripping on him, and they were afraid of a fire. And my Uncle Joe was small enough, still a swaddler, still in diapers, and still maybe young enough to just be in blankets. And he was tossed into a snowbank, and they didn't know how he survived. One of those stories, you know. So two stories at once. So the reason I was saying this is because my dad always had a gold-capped front tooth, and his tooth was broken in that wreck. Okay, so back in the day in television, sometimes it was hard to get graphics when somebody sent you a picture real quick. And so what we would do is we'd take the pictures out to the studio, and we'd take a camera and we'd shoot them, just like I am now. And so this is the author of this book. This is my Uncle Pete. Now my Uncle Pete's name, and this is the shot of him in the Marines. His name was Agapito Trujillo, but they couldn't say Agapito, so it turned into Pete because it sounded close enough. And then as I tilt down, what's cool is, as a kid, the girl in the front is my Aunt Amelia. And she's my aunt now, but then she was just a young kid. But she married my Uncle Pete. Okay. This is a picture of two very important people in my life. This is my mom and my great-grandpa Faustin. And my great-grandpa Faustin was my grandma's dad, Maria Soledad. His wife's name was Persingula, and he was a dear man to me. And when he used to hold me, I can remember with my head against his chest, I could smell his Prince Albert cherry pipe tobacco. And so even now today, when I smell that, and it's out there, you can still get that. It reminds me of my great grandpa Faustin. He worked for the railroad, but he could do really good things. I remember every year we'd go back and he would change the house or add something to the house, which meant we made adobe. We made adobe blocks, and of course, kids, we were just playing around, playing in the mud, playing in the mud with hay and straw and making adobe bricks. But I remember he used to make new doorways in the house. Of course, he'd put up a header and everything. But the way we cut out the adobes is he would get two poles that he would cut into handles, and then he would tie barbed wire. So we'd have 5-8 feet of length of barbed wire, and that was our saw to saw through the adobe. I can remember it so vividly. I can remember it right now. But the lady next to him is, and in his day, he was considered quite large. He was 6'1". So the lady with him is my mom, and she's wearing a crown because she's part of a wedding party. But you can see that my mom never wore high heels. She wore flats. And so you can see that she's equally as tall as my great grandpa. And so my mom was 6'1". And you can see, I mean, I love my mom. I missed my mom more than you'll ever know. So this is what I'd like you guys to start doing. Just tell your mom, your dad, hey, let me have some pictures, Mom, and let me just start taking pictures of them and make it a montage. Oh, sure, you could scan them through a computer, take forever, but you could just get your phone and just shoot the pictures as long as you're steady, as long as you have something that you can hold that holds the pictures steady and holds the camera steady. Just gonna pull out a little bit. So this is a picture of my mom and dad. You can't really see his gold tooth, but right there's like a little highlight of it because, of course, you know, he was probably embarrassed of it and didn't smile hard with his in pictures like that. And that's my mom. And so in the story the whole thing that I'm getting to is that my uncle Agapito and it's right there, Agapito Trujillo. He wrote this book about Hispanics in Roosevelt County, about in Portales. And so he's telling this story about how they had to elope. My mom's parents sent her off to Missouri to a girls' school called Stevens College, and my dad followed her there. He's okay, I'm just gonna go in there too, you know, and made his way there, and they eloped. And the reason they eloped is because my mom's dad was the mayor of Portales, and my dad was, well, Hispanic, Mexican, whatever, Spanish, whatever you, and of course, well, I'll let you figure it out.